How to avoid telling my 25F best friend, 25F, that her fiancé just died. Last weekend, my best friend and her fiancé were in a severe car accident. Unfortunately, her fiancé passed and she suffered severe life-threatening injuries. She has just come out of her coma and doesn't know why she's in the hospital. She keeps asking about her fiancé and where he is. Her medical team and family have refrained from telling her because her vitals are currently unstable, and a spike in BP could onset another stroke. I'm visiting her at the hospital tomorrow. How do I handle the questions about her fiancé without responding in a way that will make her mad at me later on? I don't think she'd ever get over it if I lied to her about this, even if for her health. That is so horrible. Maybe ask her family what you should say if she asks about him. That way you're all on the same page. Tell you are there to focus on her. This is a really hard thing to manage. I hope she pulls through okay. Make sure you talk to her family and medical team before going in the room with her. Just follow their lead. I don't think she'd ever get over it if I lied to her about this, even if for her health. Sure, she might not get over it if you lied. But what's the alternative? You tell her, and she destabilizes and potentially dies? Which one would you rather have? Hasn't she already been asking her family? I don't know why she would expect you to know if they don't. HIPAA and all that. Just tell her you haven't talked to any of the DRs. Which is not a lie. I would ask the family how they have been responding and go with that route. That poor woman, that situation is crushing. I'm incredibly sorry that this has happened and that you're in this situation at all. I cannot imagine how difficult that would be. And how worried you must be for your best friend. I have no idea how I would be able to answer her questions about her fiancé, and I feel like this question is above Reddit's pay grade. And it may be helpful to ask her doctors whether they have advice or if there is a resource at the hospital that they can connect you with. This is an incredibly tragic situation that is unfortunately not as uncommon as you might hope. At least based on my experience working in an acute care hospital for individuals recovering from traumatic brain injuries. Given that your friend only recently emerged from her coma, it's very likely that she is experiencing something called post-traumatic amnesia, PTA. This refers to a state in which a person is conscious but disoriented, i.e., lacking awareness of the time and place and of others' identities as well as the context leading to their hospitalization, and unable to form new memories. Frankly, individuals who are actively experiencing PTA are really not capable of processing grief. I think you've received several appropriate suggestions. Ideally, as others have suggested, it would be best to chat with your friend's clinical team to determine how best to address concerns and questions that may interfere with her recovery at this stage. Without knowing her current functional status, level of awareness, it's difficult to give specific guidance. Generally, though, as a person progresses out of PTA and into greater levels of awareness, their questions tend to escalate in terms of scope and specificity. Early on, for example, they may ask, "Where am I?" which may later become, "Why am I in a hospital?" and subsequently, "Why hasn't my husband come to see me?" Quote, as for how to respond, it's usually a good idea to match the person's current level of awareness and the level of detail posed by their questions. So if your friend were to ask where she is, a relatively vague, simple question, you might respond with something equally vague, simple. You're in a hospital. It might be tempting to elaborate or provide more details. But, especially early on, it's important to let your friend sort of guide her own recovery. If she were to ask why she's in the hospital, at this stage, You might respond, "Well, you were in a pretty serious car accident." Later, when she's more oriented and able to process more information, you might provide more detail. So something like, "You were in a really serious car accident on the way home from the gas station. I'm so glad the gas station cashier called an ambulance to bring you here. I'm wishing you and your friend the very best throughout this process and would be more than happy to expand on anything and/or answer whatever else I can if you have other questions." Ultimately, though, I think a conversation with your friend's treatment team would be well worth your while. This website also offers some pretty good advice on the subject. I think the only thing you can do is lie. I don't know, they're only telling next of kin. But really, it's bound to be more stressful for her not to know. Absolutely not suggesting you tell her. If it was me, I'd be out of my mind because a part of me would assume the worst of everyone was being evasive. I don't have any advice because this is way above my pay grade. I just wanted to express my condolences to you and your friend. She's going to need you and her family more than ever once she learns that she's lost him. Talk to her family to make sure you don't accidentally say something her family hasn't told her. Other commenters already said things about how you are focusing on her recovery right now. And I wholeheartedly agree. If she presses the issue, you could say that since you aren't family to her fiancé, the medical team isn't allowed to tell you things. That might work a bit, but could put the pressure on her family. Oh no. You could speak to the staff before you go in to see her. No one in here is in any way qualified to answer this one. The more certain the response you see, the more I would be skeptical. The only thing we can really say is good luck. I am so sorry for you and your friend's loss. I am very sorry you're in this position. I think saying something like, "I'm here to comfort you. I'm unsure about anything else at the moment," would do. Disappointed. The hospital staff should have advice for you. Or talk to her family. You need to have an entire sequence that you rehearse beforehand. What you're going to say. What you think she's going to say. What you are going to say to that. And so on. I'm so very sorry you all are going through this. That's a really tough question. Fuck. Like really tough. I don't know, maybe just try to deflect her comments until they can actually tell her? That way you're not lying. Also, I doubt she'd hold it against you if she knew you didn't want to potentially hurt her with the information. I def wouldn't be able to hide my feelings though, and they'd def know something was up. Just be a loving friend and be there for her. I'm so sorry. Been through something very similar and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. My heart goes out to you all. What a horrible situation. You are worried about how she will feel about you later. But that's in a way selfish in this situation. I mean, understandable. But it's a smaller problem. I'd probably go with what others have said. Claim that I don't know. Which of course is a lie. I would guess that she will understand. If you later explain that it was to not risk her life. Maybe not straight away, but with time. And if she doesn't, well, then she doesn't. Then maybe you lose a friend. That's really sad. But there really isn't a choice. If you really care about her, definitely do not lie. Talk with her doctor and her family to come with a plan on what to say and how to handle her questions. I'm so very sorry this has happened. I hope your friend recovers well. Already some very good answers in this thread. Focus on saying you're there for her, etc. But I want to provide some perspective. Last month my father had a heart attack. On my way home to see him, I kept asking for updates. At some point my mom started giving evasive answers instead of real updates. He had passed away, but she wanted to tell me in person. I told myself I was just paranoid, but subconsciously, That's the moment I knew he was gone. I don't blame my mom for handling this the way she did. It was going to be incredibly painful either way. But at least this way I wasn't alone and the drive was less dangerous for me. If her fiancé hasn't come to visit her after such serious injuries and nobody's giving her any updates on him, I bet that a part of her already knows he's gone. And once she knows for sure, she might be upset that she was kept out of the loop. But I 100% believe she's going to forgive you for wanting to protect her. There are no good options here. But I personally believe you're making the right call. If I could relive last month, I'd ask my mom to do exactly the same thing. I'm so very sorry for your and your friend's loss and I wish her the best for her recovery.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.